Hey, good morning. New version of ERP out this morning. Definitely going to want to do your Control F5s. I'm going to show you kind of what I changed, which is the generic property bag, I guess as I call it. And we use generic properties throughout the application. So if we go into parts, part details, we have a generic part property bag. And so if we throw this in the layout editor mode and we take a look at the drop down category that it's looking at the part property drop down category, right? And so if we go back to the inventory management list and let's say we grab maybe optional features have generic properties, and they do, it has one, right? And so if we come up here and we say, hey, let's go ahead and do a layout editor and take a look at this one, right? So same thing, this is looking at the optional feature property to populate its list. It only has one property at this point, which is active, right? The active property. And so we use this all over. Let's see, like maybe over in suppliers, and we go to supplier management, right? Do we have a property bag? Yeah, so we have a property bag here as well, right? And so kind of what the property bag was meant to do was give us the ability to store information more quickly without having to do like a whole release cycle, right? So these fields are all defined somewhere inside the company. So if we go to company management and we grab Mark and then we go into drop downs and we go find the part property, you can see that we have them defined here, right? And so those form fields that you see inside inventory actually come from this piece here, right? And they're all different, right? So like what was the other one we looked at, the optional feature property, right? So optional feature property only has the one value labeled as active. It's a bit field, so it's a checkbox, and it only has one value, right? So where this gets really cool is we can kind of we can add these on the fly without much effort, right? So let's muddy up the optional feature thing. So we're going to go ahead and add a new one, and we're going to call it, let's say, material category, right? And then we're going to tell it we want it to be a drop down. And I have this kind of copy and pasted in a new window, so you don't have to watch me type it all. But we're going to tell it we want it to be a drop down, right? And we want it to look at case styles, let's say. So let's change the name of this. We'll call it case styles. Right? Don't know why this isn't going to make any sense. I'll go back and clean it up later, right? But we're going to go ahead and save it, right? So now we should have a case styles property when we go back into an optional feature in inventory, right? So let's add another one just kind of to show us how this works, right? So let's give it an EOL field or an end of life, and let's say that the end of life is a date, right? And go ahead and tell it that it's a date, right? I grabbed this again from another window that was kind of pre-canned. So we'll call that end of life, and we'll go ahead and save that. And then just for giggles, let's give it one more, and we'll just call it self-defined drop down, right? So instead of making a call back to the server to say, hey, give me everything that to populate the drop down, we're just going to want to put our own stuff in there on the fly because we know it's only going to have two values, right? And so again, we'll just call this self-defined drop down. We'll come back and clean it up later, right? Okay, so now we have that, and then let's go ahead and change the order. We want the active field to be first, and then we have self-defined drop down into life and the case styles, right? So that's for an optional feature property. So let's jump back into inventory. Basically what we just did is we just created 3 more fields to save data in for optional feature. And I didn't have to write any code, right? Like this is all just kind of happens as, on the fly, right? So inventory management again, and let's find our optional feature for our environmental package. We'll go to details. And we'll come down here to the property bag. Now our property bag before, remember it only had the one active. Now we have self-defined, so we're going to set this field, and it saves it, right? And we're going to give it an end of life for the date picker, right? And then we're going to go ahead and tell it some case style, right? Totally irrelevant information to what we're doing, but I think you get the idea of what we've done. So let's refresh the environmental package, and you'll see that we just saved all that data in the database. We didn't have to create a table. We didn't have to create a column, nothing. It's all saved in that generic property bag. So again, if you can, Control F5. This is probably going to impact a lot of the different parts of the ERP application. If you notice anything buggy or wonky, give me a call and we'll get it fixed. So thank you.